baby, it's hot outside. That means it's time to do a garden update video. Whew. It's hotter than a hooker on nickel night. Whew. I know, I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've done an update video, and we are definitely overdue for that. I apologize for it. When you work 6 days a week at the end of every month and you only have a few days to get stuff done, you got to make a choice, and I chose doing the garden and getting our food in. Check out the sweet corn right there. My gosh, would you look at that? I planted that 6 weeks ago. That is the Yellowstone variety right there. 6 weeks in the ground since we seeded it, and would you look at it? Just look at it. The tassels started coming out on Sunday. I really credit the fact that this is a Yellowstone super sweet variety. It's 75 days to maturity. And the other thing that I credit is burying the drip irrigation tape and having that fertigator, because there's a certain corn fertilization schedule you want to follow, especially with super sweet varieties. Let me show you that. We're going to swing in through the garden. I've had several things that we've cropped out, like the sugar snap peas. Boy, we got a bunch off of that right there. I already know that this trellis here was way too short, because it actually grew probably about 3.5 feet above it, and then it finally fell over in a storm, and that was all she wrote, so we cropped it out. I cut it off at the roots on that, by the way, just to keep the nitrogen nodules in the soil. And the compost that I started a few months ago using the Drunken Composting method, this is what it's looking like right now. Really, really good, rich material. So inside my little tool shed that I've got out here in the veggie garden, I've got this right here. This is a corn fertilization schedule based on 300 row feet, and I want to thank Travis from Lucky Dog Farms and Haas Tools. He's connected with them as well. He came up with this corn fertilization schedule. What you do is you use your drip irrigation and the tape, of course, that you bury, but that fertigator right there, mainly with this schedule here, and I'm telling you, it works like crazy. You want this program, 6 to 8 inches high, 12 to 18 inches high, between knee high and hiney high, titty high, and then at tasseling, you do the final feed, and I just did that over the last couple of days. I emptied out what was left in the fertigator there, and boy, you talk about responding. These are not stressed at all. Now, I have had some leaf pressure, stuff eating it up, and the thing that you want to use on the corn for that is this right here. This is called Garden Insect Spray, and it's got spinosad in it. This stuff is completely organic. It's safe to use on your plants all the way up until harvest, and the same day you eat it. But it will take care of your tomato hornworms, your corn earworms, and now I have started a really, really good regimen. Once you get your tassels on, you want to spray about every 5 to 7 days. You want to spray the silks and the tassels, because some of those worms will eat your tassels right off and they'll just flop over. But by doing that, we're going to have a really good harvest. And let me show you something else here. When you fertilize corn properly, they say you get 1 to 2 stalks per year. Let me show you something here. I've got some of these stalks with 4 of the corn ear leaves showing. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh my gosh, this is the first silk I've seen right here. I'm seeing it with you for the first time. Look at that. Look at that, would you? That's awesome. Oh boy. I should be harvesting sometime around July 27th or so, based on the 75 days. But yes, sirree, this has been really, really fun to grow. Now, if you can't absolutely monitor your corn, they recommend that you not start off with the super sweet variety. And the super sweet and augmented super sweet is just a factor of how much sugar it's going to have in it, because you really have to pay attention and be really, really diligent with the fertilization schedule on them. A regular sweet variety of corn might be better if you can't do that. But if you are on top of it, man, will it come through. Holy cow, look at that. Now on the other side of the drip tape, I also interplanted with Pinto beans. And of course, beans and peas and things like that, they fix nitrogen in the soil. And corn is a massively heavy feeder. And so it does nothing but good things for your corn. And then you can get 2 crops out of 1 bed. This plot right here is 18 foot by 66 feet long as far as the grow space goes. If you watch my my little video on where I was actually opening this plot up and preparing it, I talked about that and also showed the seeder that I used. That earthway seeder is really good for corn. Boy, I'll tell you what, I seeded this entire thing in less than probably 8 minutes. Now, that is not the only corn that I have growing. I've got a little something else going on plot number 2, and that's one of the reasons I haven't been doing videos either. We had about 12 inches of rain 2.5 weeks ago, and right after that rain it got hot. And when I say hot, brother, I mean Satan's anus hot. It was like 128 degree heat index at one point because we had all of that rain. And but I had to get this plot going and get it in because I'm growing field corn in plot number 2, and it's a longer day to maturity, day to harvest. I'm probably going to be harvesting this in late September, which is going to be ideal for, you know, Halloween, you know, decorations and things like that. But I got to let it dry out on the stalk too, because with field corn you can do a couple of things with it. You can actually use it for roasting corn. Some people will do that. It's got the dents in there, and it's a lot starchier, but you can roast it. It's good for that. But the main thing is letting it dry on the stalk, and then you've got grain that you can actually grind up into cornmeal, corn flour. You can make grits with it, and you can feed the chickens with what's left over. Check it out. I've actually got the drip irrigation running right now, and you can see how it's wetting the soil. And because it's a very fine deal, I will typically run drip when it's this young for about an hour. If I put fertilizer in the old fertigator, I'll run it for 2, because it takes about 2 hours on the fast setting to run it all the way through. But yeah, I figured it up. This is actually a about 25 by 70 foot plot here. And are you ready for this? It looks like I'm going to have around 1,000 plants here. I've got 1,000 stalks right now. Once again, did it with the earthway seeder. This was a booger though to do in the heat, and I didn't have the money to fill this entire bed with compost because that would have taken a lot of money. And so what I did is I took 5-gallon buckets, and I bought 3 scoops of compost, and I just ran them down the actual rows where I planted. And then after I put the drip in, and then I seeded on top of that. And over here on this part of the property, I've actually got a 30 foot by 60 foot tarp. Apologize for the traffic, but I'm killing the grass off here. I mowed the entire 2 acres on Saturday, and then Sunday I picked up all the grass, and I mixed in some clippings from shredded paper. You can see some of it right there. But and then I sprayed it with my Drunken Compost mix, and if you haven't seen that, boy does it work. Sprayed it all down, and then I re-tarped it, and so we're composting in place, and we should have this ready to go. I'm probably going to leave this on for a couple of months at least, maybe do some fall planting in it. I may leave it on until next spring, and then everything will be DRT, or dead right there. I've got some more property over here that I'm going to burn that stuff down, spread it all out. I'm probably going to turn that into a bed, and I got an idea. So just down from plot number 2 and across the, I got a little pull in there from our main highway there. That's where plot number 3 is. I got some really tall pine trees. They provide great shade in the evening when it gets to be about 5 o'clock or so. But I'm thinking I'm going to put a couple of 16 by 50 greenhouses right here. And then as we come around onto the property, my main drag as far as grass goes that I can actually plant on is right here. I got a gigantic oak tree there. This bad boy is massive. And so I wouldn't plant in this area right here. I got a gas line there. My water main is actually right up ahead here. But look at all this area right in here. Gets evening shade. But throughout the rest of the day, it's right on the south exposure here. I've got enough room here for two 25 by 50 plots, and I'm thinking I'm going to actually do 4. All the way down to here, and then I'll have one rectangular plot down by the road there, and it'd be another 25 by 50. All in all, counting the plots that have corn right now, that would be about 9 plots, 9 really good sized plots to grow stuff like, you know, lettuce, radishes, carrots, kale, spinach, lots of high value crops that we could sell at farmers market. RDOT tells me I've got 12,000 vehicles a day that go right by here. And here's the cool thing. I have separate electric and water that runs over here to this little shop, and it's commercially zoned. So that might be a great setup there. We were empty nesters for a while. We've got one of them back, and we're happy about that. And I can have him run the thing during the day while I'm at work. And what I'm also thinking is right about here, where we've got the trailers and all that, we put a little mini barn with an office, a lean-to, and then right out here we could have us a little veggie stand. In order to do that, I've got to do something else though, and that's have a wash pack station. And I'm thinking right here I could put that in. I can put a walk-in cooler over here on, I got concrete. I've actually got drainage here too. But I could have a greens bubbler, drying rack, fans, the whole 9 yards. And at some point I could also come off right here and utilize all of the concrete available. We'd be able to wash everything, pack it, and immediately cool it, get the field heat off. And so I might just do that. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. That's my dad's tractor there. I won't be using that for the market garden. It's going to be a lot of no-till or low-till and no tractor stuff, because that's a lot cheaper and more efficient. And yes, I got the old drip running there, as you can see. Gonna be a lot of corn. Kiwi Kate always said I was kind of corny. All right, what do you say we go look at the rest of the vegetable garden? A lot of corn. Corny. This cat took a left turn at Albuquerque. So you guys will remember a few months ago when I was standing in this little plot and it was just an idea. Well, here's how it looks now. And I'm going to go down here to the end and turn around because the sun is blocking us out here. We have come a long way, baby. Yes, sirree. I love it when a plan comes together. You get an idea in your head, you maybe pencil it down on paper, and then you figure out how to make it happen. I've still got zucchini and squash happening, even in the heat. The white stuff that you see on some of these plants, I went around yesterday with some Diatomaceous earth. I love that stuff. It's all natural, made from crushed old sea life. It gets in the joints of like your squash beetles and squash bugs and the beetles, and it will actually destroy them. It gets in their joints and they just die. And I'm down for that. Got lots of cayenne peppers to go in there. That's a couple of habaneros right there. They haven't taken off yet. Oh boy. And we got jalapenos happening. Lots of jalapenos. We've been getting lots of okra off too. The okra loves the heat. And then right here I've got my cucumbers happening. That's about 6 foot there, and they're moving on up. I'll be harvesting the remainder. We have gotten, golly, we probably picked 20 cucumbers so far. And let's see if we got anything hiding in here tonight. Oh, there's a little one right there. We've been picking cherry tomatoes like crazy. They're doing great, and I am clearing the stems as I get to a group. I make sure all the leaves are off, and that certainly helps with preventing disease, splash up stuff, and all that. These are already about 6.5 feet tall, these cherry tomatoes. Right next to them, I've got the Rutgers. Now, Rutgers are determinate tomatoes, so they're one and done. But I got them coming on, and you'll notice that I've got red Christmas balls on here. When the first tomatoes form, I start throwing red Christmas balls on there. The birds come through, they peck them, and then when your tomatoes turn, they're like, why bother with that? It's just hard piece of plastic, but it works. Looky there. I have no blossom end rot on my tomatoes this year. What I started doing is I got some water-soluble calcium nitrate. It's nitrogen and it's also calcium. And I put that in the fertigator. I probably put 5 to 7 scoops a week in that fertigator when I'm doing my regular feed on everything. And so far so good on the blossom end rot issues. I've got one Rutgers that is every bit of 9 to 10 foot tall right now. And then right here we've got our beefsteak tomatoes. And what you're seeing right there, this actually started off as a bird that came through and left something on there, and I never got it off. But that will husk back over and be okay. But look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, what a glorious sight. Good old beefsteaks. And then I've got some, those are, it's something pink. But man, they're looking really good. I love that look there. That is fantastic. But yeah, we're getting really close on our big tomatoes. We're going to be using them for the 4th of July because that's just a few days away. I got to get out here and get a few of these cherries off too. I like to pick them as soon as possible. Now, if you got a lot of heavy pressure like worms, birds, things like that, when they go pretty good orange, you can go ahead and take them off and then turn them upside down on your counter and they'll continue to ripen. But I've been spraying with the garden insect spray and the spinosad on the corn and out here. I had a little bit of worm pressure, and one went into a little cherry tomato, and I got that stuff out, and they have not been back. When I do the sweet corn, since it's right next door here, I just go ahead and hit the tomatoes and the other vegetables as well. I had an extra plant, so I threw it over here. We got no shortage of tomatoes coming on there. Now, I thought I had some regular bell peppers. They were just going to be rainbow colored, and that's a pretty standard thing. If you leave a bell pepper on long enough, even a green one will turn red, and you know you can get all the different colors. But these are like little mini bells, and we've been getting all kinds of colors. We've been getting black ones and purple ones and yellow ones and green ones. Right over here are the sweet banana peppers we planted. The cool thing about all of this is everything you see out here was seeds a few months ago. I bought no vegetable plants, bedding plants. They were all seeds. We actually started some poblano peppers about 6 weeks ago too, and they're right there. They're starting to take off with the heat. We've interplanted them with some sunflowers. This one's not getting as much water. That sprayer's just not throwing it far enough. I started hand watering it, and it popped up a little taller there. The other ones that are getting good spray though, check it out. Mammoth sunflowers there. We got our carrots up, and boy, we got a decent harvest. It wasn't the entire bed. It was probably about half of the bed. And like I said, we're getting a bunch of okra too. You miss a day, boy, I tell you what, they can get really big. On the potatoes, we did the potato grow bag video. I've got one russet coming up, and the rest of these things are like bubcus. I put diatomaceous earth on there as well, you know, to take out the potato beetles. Hi, everybody. However, the Yukon Golds are doing really well. I think from now on, we'll stick with Yukon Golds. They seem to do a little bit better. And we've had some really good heat, too. Our green beans are about done in the heat. We got a really good mess of them, but they've started turning, and they're just about done. So we're gonna crop those out here pretty soon. And once again, I may just chop those off at the very base there. That way we leave the nitrogen root nodules in there, and then I'll compost those leaves and we'll get more nitrogen. I have nothing else in this bed. We've been trying to decide. I may put some Romas in here. I need to get the seeds in pretty doggone soon. I'll direct seed some Romas and see if I can't get a fall harvest of those determinate tomatoes. The pinto beans that I put in the little planters, what I wound up doing was putting a drip emitter in each one of these little planters so they can get plenty of water. But you can see they're starting to trellis up. And yes, indeed, I am getting pinto beans on here. Not very many at this point, but I am getting them. The little arbor thing was kind of an impromptu deal, you know. And so I just wanted to shove something in there so it would climb up it. Like I said earlier, the sweet peas we probably had our best harvest we've ever had with the sweet peas. I count some of that inoculating the soil with that biotone starter. Did pretty good. I'll have a link for that down below if you're interested in that. Next time, and for this fall, when I'm going to redo the peas here probably in about a month, we'll replant them. I'm going to have a bigger trellis in there. Kiwi Kate, that's about the right size for her. Jungle Jerry, I can reach up there a little higher. So, got some basil planted as well. We've got dill. I think those are chives there. Kiwi Kate planted this bed. We've got some cilantro growing. A little bit of that goes a long way, even in your salsa. And I figured our celery would bolt by now in this heat. It has not. And one of the things when I laid this garden out is I kind of factored in where am I going to get my shade. You know, in the evening I got shade from this Japanese maple. But about midday, I've actually got protection from the sugar pea area and the chard and celery area from the Washingtonia robusta there. And it's actually worked out. I've been really surprised with that. I figured as soon as we got, you know, up into the upper 90s, 100s, this celery was gone. But man, it's trooping on there. So we're going to keep watering it. When it comes to lettuce and celery and things like that, you can grow that stuff in 7B, but generally what you need is you need to have like 30% shade cloth. You need to be willing to water it in the middle of the day, you know, to help with the transpiration that the leaves try to do to defend itself. It causes it to stress less. As you can see, I've got some eggplants on as well. Already harvested a couple. Boy, this little gimbal thing just wants to go all over the place. Got the eggplants there. We've taken a couple of those already. And then the chard is about gone. It's a little too bitter. But I'll leave it in here because I like the way it looks. And, you know, once this stuff, you know, it hasn't bolted yet. It hasn't done anything like that. Once again, I attribute that to the location and the microclimate that we're giving it with the shade. You know, it's kind of like zone pushing in the winter in reverse, I guess. But we're leaving it in there. It makes a great sacrificial plant. You know, if you're not going to eat it, leave it in there and let the bugs eat on that instead of your good stuff. That way you can actually get to the harvest. And then finally here, I think we're going to end this just with the vegetable garden tour tonight because I'm running out of battery again. But this compost, let me grab a rake. I want to show you how this stuff is looking here. Look at that. Isn't that nice? We got lawn clippings, we got household waste, and this has been generated over the last, what, 2.5 months or so. Looking really good. And so you want to keep the pile moist. Sorry, I'm going to fix this camera here. Keep the pile moist. And so I need to come through and spray this. But after you do the spray and you use that tonic, just take a little bit and throw it back over on the top. And I'm trying to do this one hand on the camera. But yeah, just give a little bit of that action after you wet it. And it's absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people say, oh, there's no yeast in the beer and all that. Well, the compounds that are in the beer and the Coke, along with the 8 ounces of ammonia. And don't fret about ammonia. Ammonia is simply a liquid form of nitrogen. That's all it is. When you put that in there with it, and it helps speed up the breakdown process. But yeah, man, isn't your mouth just a watering? On the back side of my tomatoes, you can see the ones that haven't been quite as sun ripe. And one of the things, I don't know if you guys have had this problem this year, but my tomatoes stayed plumped up and stayed green forever when that heat came on. But as soon as the heat, finally got a break from the heat back on Monday, and it's coming back tomorrow. This is a Thursday. As soon as we got that little break from the heat and the humidity dropped, they started turning. These are more in the shade. They really do, you know, if you can get those, kind of limb them up, they're starting to turn now and change colors, and that sun will begin to ripen them. So sometimes they just need sun ripening, sometimes they just need a break from the horrible heat. When that heat really kicks on, plants don't want to do anything. They don't want to produce blooms. They don't want to do anything. They just want to try to survive. And that's where during the extreme heat, I've had the drip irrigation running twice a day for about 50 minutes in the morning and in the evening when the sun gets low. And I even did that with the corn. Now I'm back to doing 50 minutes for the veggie garden and 50 minutes for each of the corn plots. When it gets hot again though, we'll go right back to it. And that's a nice thing about having drip irrigation. Yes, sirree. Well, guys, I want to thank you very much for watching. I want you to let me know down in the comments below how your garden is doing, and also what you think about my kooky little idea. Do you think I can work a full-time job and run a market garden? I don't know. Might turn out like Jeremy Clarkson. How hard can it be? Well, guys, I want to thank you once again for watching. We really do appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification, it will let you know when we're uploading new videos. And let me know down in the comments section below what you think. Do you run a market garden? Do you think a person could do it full-time and have a full-time job if they've got one person to kind of help out with it? I don't know. We're going to probably ease into it one plot at a time. I need to get these plots put in now if I'm going to do it though. I'm 50 years old and I ain't getting any younger, and I don't want to do it at 55. Once you get your operation set up and get everything put in, pretty easy process, especially if you use silage tarps. But anyway, guys, thanks again. We will see you in the next video, and I will be doing one on the tiki garden and all of the tropicals. I'm running out of daylight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.